Hello, everybody. This is Bennett Davison with EuroHooplife, and we're here with Stan Ocitti. How you doing today, Stan?
I'm doing great, Bennett. Thanks for having me on.
Outstanding. Yeah, this is about our 10th to 12th podcast, and all we're doing is leaving breadcrumbs for future basketball players. We're going to be talking about the team you played for in 2004 in Netherlands. Can you go into a little bit of detail? What was the city like? What was the team expectations? Where were you in your professional career?
Sure, definitely. So the name of the team at the time was Cape Holland Den Helder. And my experience is a little bit unique because I grew up in Holland. So I lived in Holland for about eight years, and then I moved to the States when I was 18. So my whole collegiate career, while I was in the U.S., I was being noticed and followed by Dutch teams and Dutch agents. So I knew the country already. I knew the language. I speak Dutch. I'm a Dutch citizen as well. So upon graduation from SUNY Binghamton, I thought, in terms of kickstarting my career, let me go to somewhere familiar that I know. And so I decided to go back kind of to what I consider my second home, Holland, where I knew people, knew the coaches. And so I kickstarted my career off over there. I didn't know too much about the city.
How big would you say the city is? Where is it located? How far from Amsterdam is it?
It's probably about 2 hours southwest from Amsterdam. It's right on the coast. Beautiful, beautiful town. Typical coastal city. I think maybe I'm guessing here, but I'm thinking over 25,000 people live there.
Okay, so medium size, good, decent size, but not too small and not too big.
Yeah, definitely. And
okay. And so when you got there and you played, and obviously this is 2004, this is 14, 15 years ago, we're both transitioned out of the player side of things, and I'm doing a little local high school coaching, and yourself is doing you're for your own agency, or are you working with? Tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing.
So I retired probably, I think 2014, 2015 from professional basketball, even though, just to backtrack a little bit, I do have 3 passports. I'm originally from Uganda, so I have Ugandan citizenship, grew up in Europe, have Dutch citizenship, and have US citizenship. So upon retiring from professional basketball, the Uganda national team contacted me. So I kind of started playing with them, in international tournaments. And since retiring, what I've also been doing is kind of trying to help young people out in terms of representing players internationally in different countries. So yeah, acting as a F.I.B.A licensed agent over the last 5 years.
Okay, nice. So you're still staying pretty steadfast in the F.I.B.A industry.
Yeah, definitely. It's a short life. You might as well do what you love doing. So I'll stick with that.
Yeah. Well, let's ask you about a little bit more in depth about the team. When you got off the plane, did somebody pick you up? Did they give you a car and an apartment? Did they have a driver? They give you, give me a little details on how they treated you as the facilities. If you got injured, did they have their own gym, training room, things of that nature?
So yeah, definitely. Prior to getting there, obviously we agreed upon certain things in the contract, read over it. I was supposed to get a car. So upon arrival, someone picked me up from the airport as agreed upon. I think the first week or 2, I had to stay in a hotel while, our apartments were getting ready. And during that time, I didn't have a car either, but I was getting driven to practice on a daily basis. Restaurants were walking distance, and so it wasn't such a big issue. But then, yeah, once I moved into my apartment, the team did honor their agreement and, give me a car. It took a little longer because even though I grew up in Europe, I did not know how to drive a stick. You have to search, if you know European lifestyle, everybody drives stick over there. So, they had to really search for like an automatic, and, they eventually found one, which I really appreciated.
Nice. And what were the facilities like? Did they give you team shoes? Did you have to bring your own? When you came from University of Connecticut, UConn, they had provided everything in college for you. How was the culture shock was? What were the facilities like?
I mean, we had to, for practice, we had to bring our own gear. Game gear was provided, obviously. Shoes and other stuff of that nature. We had to have our own stuff. They'll give you an occasional T-shirt, sweatshirt for traveling, so that we just matched. The facilities were good. We practiced at the same gym where we played at. We had access to a weight room. So it was pretty solid. It was good. It wasn't too bad at all. So in terms of kickstarting my career, I wasn't too shocked. And I did my research prior to getting there. I talked to friends, I talked to people, and kind of had an understanding of what I was getting myself into.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, when you did get your facilities and stuff, how was the whole, like the living situation? Would you recommend this for a fellow American player or international player to come play for them? Was it a family friendly? If they have a wife and kids, some cities are better to have kids in than others.
That is honestly a really, really good question. So for me, coming straight out of college, they put me in not my own apartment, an apartment with a teammate. So both of us young guys, it worked out perfectly. We got along excellently. This is 15 years ago, and I still talk to the guy on maybe a monthly basis at least. And so at that time of my career, it worked out perfectly. He was a Dutch player, so it kind of helped me out in terms of being able to interact with someone who's Dutch, a local. But for someone with a family, I would not recommend it. But granted, they were a very friendly team. I think if they had fun, none of our players, international players, had families, so everybody was young. But I think if there was a player that had a wife and kids, the team would have accommodated him accordingly.
They would have made adjustments for that living situation.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, nice. So there's three things in your hoop life. We talk about the contract, what are the team facilities like, how do they treat their players. At the same time, let's go over the financial portion. Do you feel that they fulfilled their portion of the contract? What was the whole Netherlands? Turkey can be known for falling into late payments, whereas you go to Germany and Australia, if a holiday falls on a Sunday, they're going to pay you the Friday before. Let's go into a little bit of details about fulfilling the contract with this team.
That's another great question. And, I was lucky enough that the team honored the contract. I've also been in similar situations where teams do not honor contracts. I've talked to players, since I've been an agent, I've been seeing a lot of places where players don't get paid for months on end. But in Holland, they really honored the contract. Financially, everything that we agreed upon was, honored. So there were no issues whatsoever. When I got there, we set up a bank account where my money would be wired according to the contract, and that was always on time. Bonuses, everything was just like perfect. So I didn't have any issues with that at all. Yeah,
that's good to hear. So let's go over a little. And so overall, what would you categorize the team in the Netherlands Basketball League? What ranking would you consider them? And if you have any crazy, silly or crazy stories, situations that happened your first year, share that with me.
Yeah, so the team has since changed. Now they're called the Den Helder Suns, so they're a little different. The league has changed a lot, according to my friends that I still keep in touch with. But it was very competitive. A lot was demanded of import players. So you really had to show up and produce. I'm trying to think. I think there wasn't a limit per se on the number of imports they could have. Maybe it was 4 or 5. So we ended up getting a couple more imports from the States. Excuse me. A funny story. Okay, so when I got there, not all my teammates knew that I spoke Dutch, having lived in Holland. So I kind of kept that to myself. And, I just like coming to the locker.
Spy, basically a spy, to see what they're talking about you.
So I'd listen to them bad-mouthing the imports or talking about the coach. and I just keep it to myself. And then one night we all went out. We were on this huge big bus, and you know, I think it went something along the lines of, you know, they were going to take a right, like we were going to take a right to go a certain way, but then you know, I replied back in Dutch like, no, let's take a left to go down this place first. And the whole European, like the whole local guys just burst out and like, oh, this guy. They're like,
that is a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Can't show them everything right away.
Yeah, exactly. So that was
Nice.
kind of cool though.
Well, is there anything that you'd like to leave? What's the best way for players to get in contact with you if they have any questions in the future?
You can hit me up on LinkedIn under Stanley Ocitti. Send me an email at stanleyocittiagency.com. All my information is online nowadays. You know, back in the day, we never had access to social media like we do nowadays. So nowadays, literally, you can find anybody and everybody online. And all my agency information is on F.I.B.A. I think you touched on that in a previous video on how to search up agents. So that was
how to find an agent.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, email. I'm very particular about who I work with because I don't want to put players in a position where I'm not getting them jobs. At the end of the day, that's what an agent's job is to get players a good job. And I don't want to work with someone who I don't feel I can put them in a position to get.
And so thank you for sharing your story with EuroHooplife. That's what we're doing here is we're sharing your story, and hopefully this can help other players in the future. I'm going to do a couple more interviews with you on different teams and different situations. So Stan, thank you for your time.
Definitely looking forward to it. Have a good day and have a good weekend.
Same to you.
Bye.